This video will show you how to make a clay tile and then add some natural details from nature to it, like a flower or something else. You can come up with all the details and ideas that you would like, but I will give you some tips and tricks to get started and use good craftsmanship to create a clay nature tile. You will start on a clay mat with a ball of clay. Press the clay together to create a sphere. Use your palms of your hands and squeeze the clay particles all together, touch into water so that it doesn't dry out, and then once it's into a sphere-ish shape, start to throw the clay down onto your clay mat to make your tile. I would do this 4 or 5 times. As it starts to get flat, then you can use your palm to press the clay out and make it about as thick as a cookie, or you can use your pinky for thickness measuring. So I'm pressing from the center out with my palm. I'm not punching the clay or chopping at the clay, just using my palm so that it stays nice and flat. Once you have pressed your clay out far enough and it's about as thick as a cookie, then decide what shape your clay is going to be. You can use a tracer or you can leave the shape that you have already formed, but if you use a tracer, you're just cutting out the shape that you want. You can cut out without a tracer too. So I'm kind of cutting around this circle, and then I'm going to take my extra clay and roll it into a ball so that it doesn't dry out. Another thing that you can do with your base, your tile base, is add texture to it. So I put texture under my clay and I'm just going to press into it so it has a little bit of texture in the background of my nature tile. Once you have your base ready to go, it is time to start adding your nature details. Now everyone is going to do something different, but here are some ideas for you. I always like to take my clay into hunks, roll it into a sphere, and then press it flat so that it can be a little bit thinner than a cookie since we're adding it to a tile. But then I like to just use my fingers to make the different shapes. So I took that circle that I pressed flat from my ball of clay and I pinched the end to kind of make a teardrop petal shape. So then once you know how to make a shape, you can do a whole bunch of them because you'll probably want a few repeats of the same shape. So I took my sphere shape, pressed them flat, and then pinched the ends, and those are great wide petals. Another way that you can make parts of nature or different types of flower petals is with a coil. So here I'm taking hunks of clay and rolling them into a snake or a coil. I can do this between my palms and make a long skinny snake, not too skinny though. One way that I like to turn these into really awesome petals is by pressing my coil flat and then pinching the end and pressing in the middle to make it kind of curve up. This makes my flower a little bit more 3D. So again, once you know how to do it, you need to repeat this a bunch of times. So I'm going to make a bunch of coils from the same size hunks of clay, press them flat, pinch the ends, and just kind of repeat that process as many times as I need to. Once you have made a few things, you are going to want to attach them. Whenever you are attaching things to clay, you need to score, make little lines, slip, dip your finger in the water to make clay glue, and then press down so that they stay attached to your tile base. Anything you add, you have to score, make little lines, slip, dip your finger in the water to make clay glue, and press down to attach. Now, clay is sticky right now while it's wet, but as it dries, if you don't score and slip and press down, everything will crack and fall off of your base. So those are the main tips to make some different shapes. Once you get going, a lot of times you're going to have to repeat your shapes a bunch of times, so make sure you keep them smooth with your water, and then press them down, score, slip, and attach anything you make. Remember that things from nature are not always exactly the same. So my petals that I make aren't going to be perfect. They're not all going to be the exact same size, but I'm just working on using good craftsmanship to keep them smooth and attached really well with this process. One other thing that you can notice with this part is that I'm only attaching part of the petal, and the other part I'm kind of letting fold upwards to make it look even more 3D. That's another option for when you are adding things to your tiles. If you're making a flower, you can always add a center that is a different shape and maybe has a different texture. Just remember to score and slip. You can use different tools to draw in details and textures, or you can even press texture into your base. I decided to cut off the end of my tile so that it looked like the flower was going off the edge, and here I am drawing in some last details and pressing in some more texture into my nature tile. I cannot wait to see all the awesome details and things that you create with your clay nature tiles. Good luck!